Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, or good late evening, depending on where you are. And welcome to a special episode of the True North Eager Beaver podcast. I won't call it Daily Beaver Morning Show at the moment. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A. And thankfully not with me is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. Today, recording day, depending where you are, again, is either Tuesday, February 24th, just a little bit past midnight, 2026, or it's still Monday, February 23rd, where you are. It's a nice night here at the Puerto Vallarta Beaver Lodge, the Vacation Beaver Lodge. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Kids and cubs, damn fam, how is your mental health today? Mine is okay, I guess. A little. I'm not at my best. I will be honest. Probably shouldn't be expecting to be at my best at the moment, but overall, considering the circumstances, I guess doing okay. But it hasn't been the best day, I have to admit. My mental health, while I am not in a bad place, I am exhausted. I am really, really exhausted, emotionally, mentally, even physically. But the physical is actually the one that's doing the best at the moment, only because I haven't had to expend too much physical energy over the past couple of days, and any physical exhaustion I might be feeling is as a result of the mental and the emotional exhaustion. Sometimes you can feel it in your body, even though you haven't, worked it out a lot. Doing a little bit of a hit tonight because a lot of people have been asking me how I'm doing, if there's been an update. Again, very much appreciating the concern and the love and the support. Thank you very much. In an odd way, it is a lot in the sense because I do want to respond to people and let them know where I am and how I'm doing. And everybody is trying to be helpful with a lot of suggestions. But sometimes, for example, I'm on the phone trying to deal either with the credit card company or the airline and whatnot, and there's you know, text messages, either not so much text messages, but messages coming in through Messenger and Twitter and all that kind of stuff. I said, did you try this? Did you do that? And it's like, can you please stop sending the messages for a little bit so I can get through this? um, but I know you're concerned and you want to help, so I do thank you for that. It's heartwarming and it is a little overwhelming. It's a really interesting experience when you do this type of thing, and I guess eventually comes a point where more people know you, even though we haven't met. Then you know people, even though I mean we do know you, given through the chat and our interactions. Um, and it's so the concern is coming in from all sides and all sources, and like I said, grateful for it, but it gives a lot of people to respond to and a lot of things to respond to, which takes some time and takes some resources, and I do try to respond because if somebody's showing care and concern, I don't want to just ignore them. uh, it's not a nice thing to do, but there's only one of me and there's a lot of you. So, so at one point, you can't respond to everyone. So if there's anybody that sent any messages and I haven't been able to respond, or I've only been able to respond once or twice, when you've had more questions, I apologize for that. That's one of the reasons I'm doing this. Again, so you can hear it from my voice, you can see me. As you can see, I am very tired. You can probably see it in my face, hear it in my voice a bit. Um, but I figure that maybe doing it like this allows everybody to get the answer in one shot rather than trying to individually respond to everything everyone has sent. So it's a little bit of time management as well as content, obviously, for the channel, even though that's not necessarily the primary objective at the moment. Um, hasn't been all bad today, but it's been a rough day. I won't lie. Um, woke up this morning uh, feeling rested, I guess, as rested as I could be. Yes, kid playing with 3D. You look exhausted. Try to get some rest. I really that is on the agenda. Please know that I am trying my best. Yesterday, I did try to go to bed. It was much later than I had wanted to, and I did not get enough hours. I think it was after 3 a.m. Puerto Vallarta time by the time I got to bed. I was trying to finish programming for the day, because programming the episodes so that you can find them, because the whole day, a lot of the day was taken up, trying to deal with the situation. So I'm off my regular schedule, and I was able to do about half the work, uh, and not particularly well because I was um, basically sitting down and trying to do it and sort of falling asleep while I was sitting down, and I was trying to make sure that at least half of it was done so that I could have the templates there to pick up the next day. Because when I lose the template, I have to start them all over from scratch the next day, and it just makes the programming take twice or sometimes three times as long the following. So I really was trying to make sure that I had at least the template in place, so that in one spot, so that it would make the job easier. And I did kind of do that, but because I was doing it tired, I kind of messed it up. And then today, with all the events that took place today, I wasn't able to pick up on the template in time, and everything got really messed up. So if there were episodes you weren't able to find, or episodes that you saw um, repeating way more often than they should, and some appearing not at all for a while, that's all me. And me not having to have dropped some balls here and there in order, because at one point yesterday, uh, I just couldn't stay awake anymore to get it done. Despite that, um, I, seemed to wake up on my own at 7:15. I guess that's the old biological clock from doing the show. So I didn't get anywhere near in 8 hours. Only got about four, which left me a little depleted for what transpired today. And I probably could have used a little more energy, to be totally honest. But yeah, got up this morning and uh, feeling relatively well, despite the fact I was tired. And looking outside our window, it was good in the sense that there was no haze whatsoever. Last night, before going to bed, the concern was whether or not activity would pick up again in the area. And fortunately, it didn't all that much. There was, from some of the sources I was looking at, there was a little bit of activity about 4 kilometers from here, more in the Nuevo Vallarta area on the way to the airport. There was reports about 3 or 4 fires that we could hear about. I didn't do that much research last night. I was just trying to see what the feel was, but I know that at least that was going on. But for the most part, things were quieting down. And when I woke up this morning, there was no haze, there was no anything, but not much, no information really available on the code red, whether it had been lifted, whether it was ongoing, how long it would be going. We were pretty much without um, major updates, basically on that front. So we still didn't know how things were going, even if things were calm in this particular area. The events have been happening in various neighborhoods in Puerto Vallarta, but also in various municipalities throughout Mexico. So even though things might have been calm here, they could have been really active in other parts of the country, and that there was no. Again, I don't really have a full sense of that in terms of other areas. But for this part, things seem to have calmed down a little bit. We had heard last night from other people from Canada who were staying here that there was the possibility that some food shops and stores could be open today. And fortunately, there was. There's one that we tried to go to a little bit early in the evening yesterday. My Beaver Sweetie tried to go to one that's only about 2.5 blocks from here, but it was closed already. So we hope to be able to go there this morning, and I was able to do that. And it was interesting because there was indeed a lineup. A lot of the stores here are relatively small in size, so this was basically a mini supermarket that has basically 2 aisles. So there's a wall with fridges on one side, and then there's sort of a center aisle, and then there's just a wall on the other. So there's one, and that's about it. And there was a decent amount of people waiting for it. So there was a line that went around the corner. It was about an hour to an hour and a half lineup in order to get in. The process, fortunately, was very orderly. The people who owned the shop had some adult children who were there. I guess they took time off what they normally would do because they typically don't work at the shop to do some crowd control, making sure that people were coming in at an orderly pace. And we were really told to just like go up one aisle, make one pass. So make sure you take a good look at what's there and grab what you need and come down the other aisle because you weren't going to be able to circulate cash only. There's in certain places where Wi-Fi services weren't as reliable as they normally are. So the credit card machines, they usually ask at the store to pay in cash, but they do have a credit card machine if absolutely needed. But it wasn't particularly reliable and good at being online when needed. and with the number of people needing to go in, and you want to keep it moving, you don't want to have a hold up after you've rung everything in at the cache, and then having somebody stand there for maybe 10 or 15 minutes until it did come back online while you're trying to pass everybody else through. So cache only was preferred there. Um, the line itself was orderly. People were essentially very good natured, having conversations with each other, sharing various stories. There was one person behind me who had literally got in yesterday just before the airport had closed, and then everything was closed. So he didn't have very much food. Fortunately, he had some friends that were here as well that was able to help him out. There was another person that needed to go to the hospital, and the hospitals, the private hospitals, I guess, the one that the tourists typically go to, were also closed. So they were trying to find taxis to go there and bring people there, and various no luck finding a hospital, but also finding the transportation was a little difficult. Taxis did come back online around 3 or 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, but ride sharing services did not. So there was some available transportation for people who needed it, I guess, to get to certain places if they had some urgencies or absolutely must travel to do. But you might be hearing my Beaver sweetie cough in the background there. But yeah, not a lot doing, not a lot open. Um, we had a couple of updates over the course um, of that time. The first one we got came around 4 p.m. yesterday, but I'm actually, I forgot to, I was telling you about the store. I kind of got diverted. um, so yeah, people, being kind, being courteous. Um, Unfortunately, when I got into the store personally, I because there's always got to be one or two, right? We're not rowing in the same direction as the rest of the team. So there was one person who was maybe about 7 or 8 people behind me who had their foot in the store, but there was still a little bit of a lineup before they would let you go down through the aisles. And there were some fridges on the right side that had some prepared foods there. And this person decided that they were just going to grab a basket and start filling it from where she was in the line there, even though technically it wasn't her turn because I was first in line at this point to be able to go through the aisles. And that's the only time we had access to that side refrigerator. And there were certain things that I wanted to get, and there were certain questions I wanted to ask. But she was there basically blocking the whole area, talking to the one person that was manning the place. And I think she must have taken like 12 or 13 containers out of that fridge. So it was a little bit of a, um, it reminds you a little bit of the sort of like early days of the pandemic, where some people were, leaving with, 15 things of toilet paper, and you're thinking like, well, why do you need 15 things of toilet paper? It's like, well, and at that time, it's a dignity thing, when it's a control thing. I try to control the things that I can control, and what would be more undignified than running out of toilet paper because, pardon the expression, but everybody shits, right? And everybody's got to go sometime. But it's like people not thinking you don't need 15 rolls of 15 packs of toilet paper. If worse comes to worse, you can shower and there are face cloths, right? You don't need to remove all toilet paper from everybody else. You can just take one and leave the others for everybody else. So the people, for the most part, were being reasonable. They were leaving with like 1 or 2 bags full of stuff, but there were a couple of people that had 4 or 5, 6, really, really stocking up. Um, so there were a couple of moments you can notice of some lack of courtesy there. Um, me first, taking care of myself. I got mine, and screw all you all. But for the most part, most people, because again, I have a belief that most people are inherently good, and most people were inherently uh, were proving me right there. But like I said, there's always got to be a couple. And then there was one person directly behind me that, even though we were the only two in the aisle, seemed to be rushing me or whatnot, seemed to be grabbing things as quickly as she can, as if it was like a game show when you were walking through the the supermarket aisles, and you had like 2 minutes to fill your basket with as much as you can, with the highest value or something. So everywhere I was, she was like stepping on my shoes, stepping on my heels. Her bag was banging into me, and she seemed to be like pushing me forward, not really giving me time. And well, every now and then I stand up, and say something, but I tend to be somebody who doesn't like to make a scene or make a fuss. And considering, it's a bit of a tense time, I didn't really want to make a scene in the store and raise my voice and maybe get asked to leave. So I kind of just endured it. But there were several times where she was very much in my space, almost sometimes even partially ahead, parts of her body ahead of me. And I just was thinking, like, could you just please back the F off? It's like, we're all going to get to the cash, and we all have to go through the cash. And you're not going to get there before I do, and you're not going to get out of the store before I do. So just chill the F out, man. But she was on a mission. That's all I will say. So the experience waiting to get into the store was good. The experience in the store was not because of the staff, but because of these two people who just for some reason seemed to be directly in front and directly behind me, rather than a couple of feet away. And I had mastery of myself over myself, but I did not have the patience today for that. I will be very honest. But I inhaled through the nose, exhaled through the mouth, and got through it. My beaver sweetie was worried about me because it was taking so long, didn't know if anything had happened to me. But I was safe and sound. I have to admit, I was a little jittery when I was waiting in line, and I would see some people on mopeds, or I saw people in the um, Jeeps with tinted windows. I was like, is this it? Because you're supposed to avoid crowds, but there was nothing of the sort going on. Everything was fine. There were one or two restaurants that were open here or there, um, which was, I guess, good for people who were staying in places where they may not have an Airbnb or a small kitchenette in order to prepare food, and they were able to get it from somewhere. So our fears yesterday that we might be 3 or 4 days without food, and all we had was some chips and nachos. Um, Fortunately, did not materialize. Last evening, we got very, very creative for supper. We happened to have an onion, some garlic, a little bit of butter, cilantro, and garlic. And with that, I was able to make a small portion of, oh yes, and a little bit of cheese, of a sort of French onion soup-ish, which actually didn't taste so bad considering we had no broth. I caramelized the living daylights out of those onions in order to get every bit of sweetness out of it. Turned out to be pretty decent, actually, which actually surprised myself. But it was a fairly long process to do that. But um, it brought me a little peace of mind because we didn't actually use any of the chips and guac. So uh, I felt that we had done some pretty clever rationing in case we had needed it, because we had managed to preserve our chips and guac for an entire whole other day by using a little bit of this and that that we happened to have left from the food we had bought before. So that was that was my Beaver Sweetie's idea for French onion soup. So credit to him for thinking of that. Um, and it was enough because we were both rather hungry. But of course, you can subsist for a while without some food, so long as you have some water. And at one point, you kind of get used to the feeling of the hunger pang, and then it doesn't bother you so much anymore. But we were grateful to put some food in our belly, and it hits the spot. It's amazing how just a little bit of food, because it was in great quantity, can actually fill the void a bit and provide some comfort. Um, so yeah, grocery store, pretty decent. We got back and then tried to contact the airline, but before that, the minister of global affairs, Anita Anand, had given a press conference and had some details for us in it. I have a couple of notes here from it. She had mentioned that there are about 26,305 Canadians currently registered with the Department of Foreign Affairs in Mexico. That's probably not all of the Canadians that are in Mexico, because there are always some that do not register, but that over the course of the last 24 hours, there were 8,000 more who did register than were registered the day before. The Roca site registration of registration online for Canadians abroad, I think it is, was freezing at a couple of points yesterday given to the demand, but it seems that they brought extra people on to take care of the kinks and eventually got the system working more smoothly, which is very good, was very helpful. Apparently, there were 440 calls placed to consular services, and they had brought in a couple of extra staff to take care of that as well. Of the calls, only 3 required some consular services. There were 2 people required services because they were injured with non-life-threatening injuries, and one person was seeking some financial assistance. But that was about the extent of basically the bigger cries for help requested from Canadians. So that gives a sense that while there was some unrest and while things were unsettled, uh, nobody was specifically being targeted. There were, as we mentioned yesterday, there was some news or some rumors that the cartels were going into some hotels and looking for Americans and taking them. Turns out that none of that was true. You may have seen some reports of people at the airport in Guadalajara and seen some planes on fire. Those were AI generated fake images. In the States in particular, a lot of um, influencer type accounts that are very close to the IQ 47 White House were very actively spreading some disinformation, which was not helpful at all, because some people could have made decisions based on that could have put them in a lot of danger, and also gave the impression that these influencer accounts were actually trying to help the cartels by creating extra distraction over here that was not helpful. If the authorities need to have their attentions diverted to taking care of people who might be in situations that they should not be in, and potentially making themselves targets. That makes, and especially if there's something that happens and they need to respond, well, that means less people making sure that they are getting the situation under control. And so that was not helpful in any way, shape, or form. So lots of disinformation and lots of calls from the government of the state of Jalisco to ask people to be very, very careful about what it is that they were sharing. One such tweet, for example, sharing misinformation, um, came from somebody uh, named Bernie Moreno, who is a Republican U.S. Senator from Ohio. And I quote one of his tweets that was released yesterday. There are troubling reports coming out of Puerto Vallarta and other parts of Mexico that narco terrorists are hunting down American citizens. The drug cartel should be aware that if any American citizen is harmed in Mexico, there will be a violent and terminal retribution from the U.S. Any USMCA negotiations should cease until this situation is resolved. For any Ohioans stuck in Mexico, reach out to my office. And then he left his number. That was complete and total lie. We had some people working hard to debunk that. Enrique Acevedo, who is with the Televisa Univision here in Mexico, was citing such tweets and stating officials on both sides of the border have confirmed there are no credible reports of Americans being targeted anywhere in Mexico. At least 25 members of Mexico's armed forces lost their lives yesterday while protecting civilians. This is not time for statements that spread fear and confusion. So there was another person I think that you guys pointed out to me, Dan Dix, who I only saw one thing from him that seemed to be fairly accurate, but there was another one of him out in the streets, getting images of the burnt cars and all that kind of stuff with something saying "Pray for us," and there was no need to pray for us in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, it was unsettling. The atmosphere was eerie, but none of us were in any particular real danger if we had obeyed, and there was no opportunity. There was no movement to seek out tourists and to try to hurt them specifically. So yeah, um, lots of disinformation here. Let's see what I have. Certain MPs like Heather McPherson pointed out that there were, a lot of gay people here that were again potentially in danger. Not sure that in danger was needed in that tweet. Not sure if that was particularly helpful, but yes, because it could have created the impression to some that we were being singled out, which we were not. But you had other people like Rob Anderson, who's Daniel Smith's chief of staff, getting very upset that any mention of the rainbow community, and specifically being the subject being the subject of danger, performing a little bit of a similar to All Lives Matter. If you remember in the Black Lives Matter movement, where people were saying Black Lives Matter, people were going, well, all lives matter, in order to diminish the value of Black lives and to diminish the situation that they were facing specifically. It was sort of an attempt like that, say, well, straight people are in danger too. Yes, everybody technically is affected by this, but there is a neighborhood here in Puerto Vallarta that is a well-known and very well-established destination for the rainbow community, where we can literally live our authentic lives while on vacation and be ourselves. So yes, there was a specific reason to highlight the fact that there were many of us from our community here, specifically considering that some of the events and activities that took place was happening in this zone in particular. So, Heather McPherson was not wrong to highlight it. Maybe could have held back on the in danger portion, but Rob Anderson, hey, let's not let a fact that there are many of us here get in the way of his feeling that we should not be mentioned or singled out in any way, given the number of us that were here. You have something, my love?
We're trying to WestJet. We're trying to everybody who is resuming flights tomorrow is that.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, we'll get to that. Oh, interesting. Okay. That's what's that CBC one. Okay, could you send me that link to my either Facebook or to email, so I can bring it up. Thank you. President Claudia Sheinbaum had some words to say earlier today. Basically, a little summary here. Well, just a little bit of a line. There's a longer clip that I have here, but it has audio, and it's probably all in Spanish, so I wouldn't be able to translate it for you on the fly like I do in French. But one of the quotes is, "All operations are conducted by federal forces. There is no involvement from the US in the operations. The entire operation from its planning onward was done by the federal forces, specifically the Secretariat of National Defense." So debunking some misinformation there that the Americans were somewhat involved in some way. There was no reason for it. Again, everything here was done rather professionally by the Mexican government and the Mexican authorities, all on their own. They didn't need any assistance in order to take care of the situation. Like as I mentioned, we had received a couple of updates through the course of the action. Yesterday, as around 4:00 p.m., we received word from the government of Jalisco stating that as of 4 p.m. yesterday, the government of Jalisco is updating the information on the events that occurred today in the state and the actions it is taking to address them, with the goal of guaranteeing the safety and security of the public. Starting at 2 p.m., starting at 3 p.m., some public transportation routes were gradually reactivated. Public transportation system will be fully reactivated in the coming hours. Currently, 25 people have been arrested, 11 for their alleged participation in violent acts, and 14 more for alleged acts of looting and pillaging. As we mentioned, some corner stores and mini markets in particular were looted. I don't know if there was anything else that was, but we were aware of some of those. Regarding the 11 detainees, it is detailed that 2 were captured at the intersection of Lazaro Cardenas, which is a street that does cross this era, and Fuele, I believe it is, streets, where a vehicle was seized and another perpetrator was killed on the Chapala Highway near the Puerta del Sol subdivision. 4 individuals were apprehended and a vehicle was seized, and in Morelos Park, 5 men were detained by the National Guard, one of whom was injured. Hold on, I'm just going to see if I can make this a little larger because type is it had a translation from Google, and the types are in different characters every now and then. 2 vehicles were also seized at the intersection of, I cannot make out that street, something Avenue and Guadalupe Avenue, and one more at the intersection of Manuel Gonzalez Street and President's Avenue. The Jalisco Ministry of Education will suspend in-person classes. That was today, Monday, February 23rd, at all public schools and private elementary, middle, and high schools, as well as higher education institutions. At this time, no damage to educational facilities has been reported. That's as at 4:00 yesterday afternoon. The Secretariat of Innovation, Science and Technology will also suspend in-person classes at higher education institutions in the state, as well as the activities scheduled for today, today that just passed, at the various locations of the Network of Innovation and Entrepreneurship Centers. The Jalisco Health Secretariat reports the suspension of the vaccination campaign and at all planned off-site and mobile vaccination locations. The resumption of activities will be announced in due course through official channels. Emergency services and medical care continue to be provided at all units of the Jalisco Health Services Public Agency, Servicio de Salud Jalisco, that normally operate on Sundays. Then went on to say, the Western General Hospital Zoquipan, the Guadalajara Civil Hospitals, and the Jalisco Cancer Institute are operating normally. To safeguard the security and personal integrity of patients and healthcare personnel, agents from the State Attorney General's Office and the Municipal Police are maintaining surveillance at the Western General Hospital, Zoquipan, and the Guadalajara Civil Hospitals with no incidents reported. The Jalisco DIF system reports that tomorrow, Monday, February 23rd, and until further notice, services are suspended at the Comprehensive Rehabilitation Center, Special Care Clinic, the Labor Training Center for People with Disabilities, the Day Centers, and the Child Development Assistance Centers. People who are already inside the facilities remain in voluntary quarantine, accompanied by special personnel and under measures aimed at protecting their well-being and safety at all times. As a preventive measure, the decision was made to suspend services provided to users with the exception of shelters. In shelters and residential centers, services are not suspended. Permanent support is maintained for residents, including people with disabilities, older adults, as well as people in situations of human mobility and those experiencing homelessness, prioritizing safe environments and close attention. Users will be informed about the resumption of activities through official channels. CODE Jalisco reported that the competitions scheduled for today were suspended and athletes and their families were kept safe. In case of teams competing in other states of the country, the institution remains in constant communication to ensure a safe return. In addition, the sports complexes managed by CODE Jalisco will remain closed until further notice. The Ministry of Culture reported no damage to cultural spaces and announced that the Jalisco Philharmonic Orchestra concert at the Golado Hall had been rescheduled for the safety of the attendees. And the Pacific Airport Group detailed that at the Puerto Vallarta International Airport, by decision of the airlines, international operations and most domestic operations were canceled today. And then it was said here that I'm not sure that's the airport group, reported that the airport terminal is under the protection of the National Guard and defense personnel, and that the situation recorded today in the state did not impact internal operations or security within the facilities. Damage was reported at 18 Banco del Bienestar branches in municipalities throughout the country. Looting or damage was also reported at 69 OXXO convenience stores in Guadalajara, Zapan, Tiajamuco de Zuniga, Guanacachian, and the Altos Sur region, as well as the SAT Tax Administration Service facilities in Puerto Vallarta. In states bordering Jalisco, security incidents occurred in Aguas Calientes, Colima, Guanajuato, Nayarit, Michoacán, and Zacatecas. As a preventative measure, the state government was maintaining the temporary suspension of public transportation in some areas to avoid impacting the population and safeguarding the well-being of users and operators. Additionally, mass events in the state have been suspended for today. There were roadblocks reported with burning vehicles at various points in Guadalajara metropolitan area, municipalities in the interior of the state, and in Puerto Vallarta with the intention of hindering the actions of the authorities. These events occurred after an operation was deployed by the federal forces in the municipality of Talpapa, which also resulted in clashes in the area. The government of Jalisco was maintaining coordination with federal and municipal authorities to restore order and guarantee the safety of the population, and then said that they would continue to provide updates. So that's what we knew at around 4 p.m. yesterday. When we woke up this morning, there was a couple of more updates. One was that emergency services and medical care continue to be provided at all units of Jalisco Health Services. Likewise, the Western General Hospital, Civil Hospital in Guadalajara, and Jalisco Cancer Institute were operating normally. To safeguard the security of personnel, integrity of patients, and healthcare, members of the Jalisco State Prosecutor's Office and municipal security were maintaining surveillance at those hospitals, with no incidents reported in Guadalajara. The Jalisco Health Secretariat continued to inform the public regarding service and care. And the government of Jalisco also reported that the urban electric train system confirms that all macro calzada stations are open and were operating normally this morning. So that's what we had at that point. And then I believe, so yes, and then we got, like I said, the update from Minister Anand, who then went on to say, in addition to the calls and the people who had registered, that she had spoken to her counterpart, or the Minister of Foreign Affairs here in Mexico, Mr. De La Fuente, and he said that the situation was stabilizing over the next few days and did not request any assistance from Canada militarily or otherwise. Um, the minister had confirmed that the government of Mexico did not provide the government of Canada with any indication that the security operation to arrest Mencho would be taking place. And she warned that the situation was still fluid, so we should be paying attention to all instructions that are being given and to follow them by the local authorities. She also stated that there was no repatriation flights being planned and no military assistance was requested. And made a point to state that one of the rules of Global Affairs Canada in these situations is to provide accurate information about the security situation on the ground so that people, first of all, can have an idea of what's disinformation, what's not, and make some sound decisions with regard to what their next moves will be, or not making a move at all, just staying put based on proper information. And that was one of their key priorities in this particular case. Interesting thing happened to us over the course of the day. Soon after that, there was a message that came through our Instagram, according to Kit Uncover, and she forwarded it to us. Thank you. That I believe his name is David Shortley from the New York Times had seen some of our content and wanted to talk to us. So that was kind of interesting to be able to have the New York Times call and ask. Unfortunately, at least that I know of, there was it was not an audio recorded interview that I believe, and it was not anything I think that would make it such that I would be quoted or that the name of the show would be mentioned. It seemed to be a very quick 5 minute and give them an idea of what was happening on the ground, more for background and context for whatever he was writing. He had put out some feelers to several people, so it wasn't an in-depth thing with an account. But still, with a personal account that would have my name and my picture and anything like that, or a quote. But it was still kind of interesting. It was a bit of a highlight of the day that would happen. So yeah, that provided a moment of levity and happiness during the day. Uh, it's nice when your work is noticed by people who are doing the work, and of course, reporters from the New York Times are some of the best out there. So yeah, uh, kind of as I keep on mentioning, sometimes there are days you think that you should have like a little personal trophy, like the day I played Rachel Holman at curling and we stole the first end, put that on my shelf. Was interviewed by the New York Times based on content that we were putting out. Boom, little trophy, put that on my shelf. So yay me. Hey, we take our props and we take our achievements where we can get them every now and then. We also got a lovely shout out by our friends at the Breakdown, who posted our content and said some nice stuff that um, couldn't. I think was something like you couldn't have if you want to know what's going on in Mexico. You'll want to listen to this. You couldn't get the information from I think a more genuine and nicer or kinder or nicer guy or something like that. Which of course made my heart melt a little bit. Again, for those of you who watch the show, um, you know what what great respect I have for the work that Nate Pike and all his team at the Breakdown Alberta do, and he's a he's just a wonderful guy. He's a mensch, as we say. So to get that type of praise and shout out from him is a great compliment. You know, you consider the source, you get a compliment, and that's a pretty good source to get a compliment. So that also kind of made my day. I got the name of the journalist from the New York Times incorrect. It's David Shortell with the New York Times. So if you look up New York Times David Shortell and Puerto Vallarta, maybe there's something with my name in it. As of about 2:30 in the afternoon, I saw that he had made an update to a story. That was a couple of hours, about 4 hours after we spoke, and I did not see my name there. So maybe he wrote something later on. I haven't had a chance to check yet, and maybe my name is there. But that's about like I said, whether the name is there or not, it was a warm fuzzy just to get the call. And there's apparently another person from some news outlet in the Ottawa Valley, where a friend of mine said that she was looking for someone, and she asked me if it was okay if my information was given. I said absolutely sure. So there will be there's a possibility that there could be something else coming down the pike as well, which is kind of nice. But yeah, it's nice to be recognized. Some of the kits as well have provided some comments. Kit U in particular, stating that I had done some good work for doing this kind of. Again, we don't consider ourselves journalists, and I mean, yes, we're reporting on live events and stuff that is breaking in, something that's caught the attention of the world, but it's just dumb luck slash bad luck that I happen to be here at the time to be able to do it. So again, I do not know if this counts technically as journalism or making news, but we tried to do our best. Yesterday, we did, mention some things that turned out not to be true. Hopefully, we put all the caveats where we needed to say, these are things that we've heard that we don't know if they're true, that this could be disinformation, might be disinformation, or that we had no way of verifying them. So we wanted to give you a full picture of what was there, and the things that we did know. We tried to make sure that these are things that we did know because we did hear it from people who saw it, who had captured video of their own sources that were reputable, things that we had seen or experienced ourselves, and were things we didn't know for sure that was the case. One of those cases, I believe, was activities at the airport of Guadalajara. Again, there was some reports there that there was some cartel activity there, and there was some video of some people running and fleeing. But turns out that there was no activity at that airport as well, but there was some panic, fleeing and running for cover from people who did believe and did hear that at the airport itself that members of the cartel were there and uh, launching some actions. So they were legitimately, if you see those videos of them running, they were legitimately afraid and running because they did think that had happened because they had gotten that misinformation and certainly weren't going to take time at that particular moment to check, right? You protect yourself first. But it turns out that they didn't need to panic because that didn't happen. And that's why I was saying, this type of disinformation is very dangerous because, um, let's say there was a lot of people, it could have potentially created a trampling type event, right? So when people are panicking and fleeing, sometimes people trip and fall. So yeah, you don't want anything like that happen. So again, we have to be very careful about what it is that we share, and if it's something that is you see and it's very much appealing to your emotions, fear, trepidation, outrage, um, that type of stuff, especially fear in these instances, you want to be careful before you share them because in this day and age, they might not be true and they are there specifically for that fear or to create a pretext for an action that might be overkill, for lack of a better word. Continuing on with some updates there. I'm just going to take a look. My love, was it to my email or Facebook? Okay. So taking a look at that. The next thing we tried to do was to get in contact with the airline, again, our carrier, because we had noticed that there were flights that were indeed departing and taking off from the airport today, even a few from some Canadian carriers. And so we were wondering what was up with our airline, Flair, because as you know, if you watched the show yesterday, they were very quick when things happened to send us some emails and some notices. First, like originally, the flight that we were going to take was delayed because there was a problem with the plane out of Toronto. So we had received that notice that we wouldn't be leaving until early evening, and we're giving a voucher so that we can have something to eat at the airport. And then a few hours later, with the cartel activity, we were told that our flight was canceled and that we would get updates soon. And then it was not that long after. I think it was, around, I think before 12:30 local time, that we were told, our flights were canceled, but don't worry, we've already got you rebooked. So that's a good thing. And then when we clicked and we saw when we were rebooked, it was March 3rd, which was 12 days, which seemed to be a lot. So we were like, what the hell? We got on the phone, we called them, and the agent there at the time had told us that there was actually some activity in the airport, kind of suggesting that there's probably some damage to the airport and would take until March 1st for the airport at least to be operational again. Turns out that that was not true. So again, I don't know if that was the best information they had, just like the people at the airport in Guadalajara had, that caused them to flee, but that was the information they had at the time. But knowing that the airports were fully operational and that flights were now landing and arriving, and that there was no damage and that it was well protected, we called again today, and we had an extremely unpleasant experience with the person who had was supposed to be providing customer service and did anything but. And here, according to 5 hours ago, based on what my Beaver sweetie has just sent me, this is from a CBC. Just taking a look here, and says that, wow, okay, the death toll has gone up. It says here that at least 73 people have now been killed, including members of the National Guard and cartel operatives, after the death of El Mencho, the leader of the Jalisco New Generation cartel. And then some of the updates here is that, there's a thing from Ian Hanomansing that we should probably look at. It says what to know if you're stranded in Mexico, because we are. Who else? Who is this from here? Kevin Mayman of CBC wrote about 5 hours ago, Mackenzie McMillan, managing partner at the travel group, has some tips for Canadians who are unsure about their upcoming Mexico vacations. He told CBC's Ian Hanomansing he's still weighing out the risks of his own planned trip to Puerto Vallarta next week. If you decide to go ahead, make sure you're registered with Global Affairs Canada. We registered before leaving, and yesterday we updated our information just in case it wasn't there. So we double checked to make sure that we were indeed registered, and we were. He says you'll get important updates in case something happens. He says it's also important to keep an eye on your airline status and to make sure you have medical insurance. Finally, he recommends buying connection insurance for flights. Quote, if you are stranded somewhere, flights are canceled, or you're looking at 3 or 4 or 5 days in a destination, often that insurance will help you with costs while in destination, like accommodation, food, taxi, rides, phone calls, that sort of thing, he said. We did not know about connection insurance. So we don't have it. I'm just learning now that that's a thing. And it's called connection insurance. So yeah, That's kind of interesting. 8 hours ago, Kevin Mayman also wrote that Air Canada said on Twitter it will resume full operations from Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver to Puerto Vallarta on Tuesday, and will be flying larger planes for additional capacity. The airline will resume flights from Toronto to Guadalajara on Wednesday. 6 hours ago, WestJet said that they would be resuming flights, and they were resuming flights today, actually. Is that Tuesday?
Yeah.
Tuesday. So today. WestJet will resume its scheduled flights to and from Puerto Vallarta, Guadalajara, Manzanillo on Tuesday. The airline announced late Monday. WestJet says it continues to closely monitor developments in Mexico and advises customers to check the status of their flight before heading to the airport. This will bring relief to many Canadians who have been wondering how and when they will be able to come home. Air Transat will also resume flights on Tuesday.
But no flare.
But our airline carrier, Flair, is not doing so. I think Porter has also resumed. But Flair Airlines, which is ours, and that was our very unpleasant conversation with them, insisted they basically gaslit us. There are air travel passenger rights regulations in Canada that exist, and they're there for protection. And if you are not aware of it, there's a portion of it, Section 18 of those regulations, that deal with situations specifically that are out of the control of the airline company. And in such cases, they have certain obligations, and this airline is clearly not meeting them in any way, shape, or form, and it has been quite a situation trying to deal with them. I think I have it here in the text here. I was just trying to buy some time here as I was trying to get it. But yes, according to Section 18, Paragraph 1 of the Air Passenger Protections Regulation dealing with delays or cancellation outside the carrier's control, it is indicated that a carrier, quote, must provide to the passenger free of charge a confirmed reservation for the next available flight that is operated by the original carrier or a carrier with which the original carrier has a commercial agreement, is traveling on any reasonable air route from the airport at which the passenger is located to the destination that is indicated on the passenger's original ticket and departs within 48 hours of the departure time that is indicated on that ticket. March 3rd is way beyond 48 hours of the time that was indicated on our original ticket. Section 18, paragraph 1.1 says of the same regulation, same regulation states, quote, if a carrier cannot provide a confirmed reservation in accordance with subsection 1, it must, at the passenger's choice, refund any unused portion of the ticket or provide the following alternate travel arrangements free of charge. A, in the case of a large carrier, which Flair is, a confirmed reservation for the next available flight that is operated by any carrier and is traveling on any reasonable air route from the airport at which the passenger is located, or another airport that is within a reasonable distance of that airport, to the destination that is indicated on the passenger's original ticket, and if the new departure is from an airport other than the one at which the passenger is located, transportation to that other airport. Or B, in the case of a small carrier, a confirmed reservation for the next available flight that is operated by the original carrier or a carrier with which the original carrier has a commercial agreement and is traveling on any reasonable air route from the airport at which the passenger is located to the destination that is indicated on the passenger's original ticket. It seems that the difference between a large carrier and a small carrier is that if you're leaving from an airport that is not the one on your original ticket, that they do not have to provide transportation to that other airport.
But also small ones don't have to buy from another carrier.
Yes, and small ones don't have to buy from another carrier, but large ones do. This person whom we were dealing with uh, was stating that they only needed to reroute us on their own without any did not have to look at any other carrier, and was also telling us that there were no flights available from any other carrier, but that is incorrect because we saw them being advertised. We saw the flights and the times and the departures. They existed, and they gaslit us into trying to make us believe that there were none. We actually read this section of the regulation to them. And when we were doing that, it was like, exactly. And that's why we can't do that. The regulation says you have to. Exactly. But we can't. We're following the regulation. No, they're not. We asked to speak to a supervisor. They tried to make us believe that there were no supervisors at the place of work, which was really interesting because when we were asking for other information, we were put on hold so that he could ask someone from the support team, and then got back to us. So there were people there for him to ask stuff to, but allegedly no supervisors there that we could talk to. But we were free to send an email to support at FlyFlare if we wanted to talk to a supervisor. We also asked to be transferred to another agent, and they couldn't do that. Why? Because it's not allowed. Why is it not allowed? Because it's policy. Why is it policy? Because it's not allowed. Circles. This person had a script. This person also would just, you know how politicians sometimes in an interview they'd be asked a question and they just keep talking and talking over the interview. This person did that to us. We had to get very, very, very angry and very assertive. We did state that we were people who did understand media very well, and that we were indeed going to make a public relations stink about this that could be damaging enough to the reputation of the company that would cost them way more than it would to actually book us on a flight. They were unmoved. We also threatened that we were fully willing to take legal action. They were unmoved. We will be pursuing these things when we get back, because this airline company is asking us to cover 12 nights lodging and food, because this is a situation that's out of the control of the airline. It becomes incumbent on the passenger to cover the costs, and while the situation about the cartels is out of the control of the airline, the fact that we are stranded for 12 days and they will not rebook us on another carrier like they are obligated to under the law, that is under the control of the airline. They're just choosing not to. It was an extremely unpleasant experience, and we got absolutely nowhere. We have written to the consulate. We have written to our MPP. We have written to our MP. Hopefully we will get some assistance. We wrote after closing hours today, so we did not get any response today. Hopefully we will get something tomorrow. Hopefully there will be some additional flights added by other carriers that will create a space for us. If not, we're also looking to see if there are any additional flights tomorrow, maybe just buying our own ticket, because apparently there is a policy that if we wanted to buy our own ticket somewhere else, the airline with which we are traveling will refund us the full price of the portion of the ticket that we did not use. They say that that's the policy. I'm not particularly confident that they would actually send us the money if we did proceed that way, given that they're not obeying the law as it is by not rebooking us. Yeah, that has been a ridiculously unpleasant. I have never, ever, 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 ever encountered a customer service situation with someone so hell-bent and determined to be unwilling to provide any help. There's a lot. I'm sorry. I apologize. I was like, well, no, you're not sorry, because when someone's sorry, his name was Alexander or something. Yes, yeah, we have the employee number. We got the employee number and the call reference number. We're documenting times, the calls, and all that kind of stuff. Again, as we mentioned on the show, when you're sorry, you show you're sorry by not repeating the offending behavior. This person was not sorry. Not in the least. Not with the number of times they kept on repeating. We literally had to shout, "Sir, we are talking. Not your turn, sir." To try to get him to stop from droning on from the script so we could get a word in edgewise. It was extremely unpleasant. My Beaver sweetie was shaking. He had gotten so upset. I had really raised my voice, something I typically do not do, particularly on customer service calls and that type of stuff, because the person that is working there typically doesn't necessarily have that much authority and all that kind of stuff. But this person was so extremely condescending. And there's another word that I'm thinking, and I can't, patronizing. That it was, and insulting our intelligence. How many workplaces that you know that are of the scope of an international carrying airline that you can call for customer service, especially when things go wrong, and there's not a supervisor there? I mean, it stretches credulity. And this is not a charter. This is not Air Transat, whatnot. It's a low cost carrier, but not a charter. This is a full-fledged large carrier airline. Maybe not as big as Air Canada, but on par regulatory wise, but considered on par with Porter, WestJet, Air Canada, and should be providing these services. So as far as we know, we are stranded at the moment, and our airline carrier is going to do absolutely nothing whatsoever to get us home prior to the 3rd of March. That's not a good feeling. What to say? Both of us almost broke down in tears at some point today due to the stress that caused, and how upset we were. Had we not been able to be helped, that was one thing, but this was someone that was not willing to help, not even willing to try, and was telling us that there were no alternative flights, no supervisor, and no way that they could pass us to someone else. And we kept on talking, we want to talk to a live person. Yes, you need to send an email here to talk to a live person. That doesn't connect us with a live person that could get us and make an arrangement to get us on a flight tomorrow or the next day. So that threw us. I will not lie. That threw us. This is not what we expect. So it's unacceptable. It's not good enough. But when people have obligations and they do not want to take them, and you have no way of forcing them to, well, what do? There's only so much you can be assertive and scream and yell and point out the law and get emotional before it's not good for you and your own health. So that's part of the reason I was saying that our mental health today, good overall, I guess, concerning the circumstances, but not good. Could be far worse, of course, but not good at all. It's been a very, very, very rough day for us. We had an update a little while ago from the governor of the state of Jalisco, who seems that the code red that we are under will officially be lifted tomorrow. Pablo Lemus Navarro, the governor of the state of Jalisco, stated, "The red code that we activated yesterday has allowed us to act in a timely and coordinated manner across all levels of government to ensure the safety of the citizenry and the productive sector. In agreement with the security table, I want to announce the return to classes at all educational levels starting this Wednesday, February 25th. Additionally, we have agreed with business organizations that economic activities will fully resume starting tomorrow. To achieve this, it will be key to continue restoring public transportation services, which will operate normally tomorrow. To support security tasks, Gobierno Mexico has sent 2,500 additional military personnel to Jalisco, who have been deployed at various points throughout the state. It is important to say that we have no reports of new incidents and that we continue to clear all roads in Jalisco, removing the wrecked vehicles. In Puerto Vallarta, we have deployed sufficient personnel to ensure the resumption of public transportation services, to supply food and services for the hotel zone, and for the general population. We continue working to return this important port to normalcy as soon as possible. If things continue as they have so far, tomorrow the state's security table will propose lifting the red code. I want to make a call to Jalisco society, to mothers and fathers, to business owners, to women and men workers, to women and men students, to public servants. It is time to recover our city and our state. Thank you very much." So that the code red will be lifted is a positive thing. For us, however, we don't know what that means for us with regard to lodging. Our host here has been gracious enough to allow us to stay during this period. We don't know if we will be allowed to stay until we have a flight, if we do have to stay until the 3rd, or whether or not we will have to relocate at some point. So that's something else we don't need at the moment. But yeah, that's kind of the situation here for us. Yeah, we are we're wondering. Again, we're not. How do you put it? We're not hopeless. We're not hopeless or helpless. We do have credit card. Hopefully, because flights are resuming, there will be some places that we might be able to find to stay if we're stuck. We do, like I mentioned, have a friend that is here that maybe we might be able to stay with if we are really, really stuck. Hopefully, it won't come to that. Hopefully, we'll be able to keep staying here, but we don't know. Maybe your sweetie happened to ask if any of you happen to know a very, very good travel agent who might be able to help us rebook a flight, find a flight that would be at a reasonable price. or help us rebook our ticket, because I think that even if we went to the airport to try and have them rebook our ticket there, there's probably nobody from Flair Airlines at the counter to actually do it for us. So even going to the airport seems like would be a pointless exercise. So if anybody happens to know one who might be able to help, that is a way that is help that could indeed be pretty valuable to us if you have it. One piece of news that's really interesting was published in the Financial Times today about how it is the state managed to catch El Mencho, according to Sierra Nugent of the London Financial Times. It says here, Mexico's military intelligence followed a girlfriend of Nemesio El Mencho Oseguera to locate the cartel kingpin, who then died after a shootout with the security detail officials said. Defense Minister General Ricardo Trevilla said on Monday the authorities, relying on a mix of Mexican and U.S. intelligence, had located, quote, a trusted associate of one of El Mencho's romantic partners on Saturday, who then took her to a building in Tapalpa, Jalisco State. Quote, there, this partner met with El Mencho, and on February 21, she left the premises, Trevilla added. Information was obtained indicating that El Mencho remained at the location surrounded by security detail. The operation was planned that same day. The killing of Oseguera, leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG, if you are using the acronym in Spanish, and one of the world's most wanted drug traffickers, is a major coup for Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, who has been under heavy U.S. heavy pressure to tackle fentanyl trafficking, and there was a reward for $15 million, or 15 million pesos, for information leading to the arrest and or conviction of El Mencho. Oseguera was injured after cartel members, quote, very violently resisted his arrest and died in transit to Mexico City, the minister said. Oseguera and his, quote, inner circle initially fled into a wooded area on the outskirts of Tapalpa, where they opened fire on security forces and an Air Force helicopter, which had to make an emergency landing, Trevilla said. 2 bodyguards were also wounded in the confrontation and died en route to the medical facility, he added, with 5 more cartel members dying during or after the operation. The 59-year-old had turned the CJNG into one of Mexico's 2 most powerful crime groups, expanding its reach across most of the country and taking a leading role in moving fentanyl and other drugs to the United States. News of his death sparked violent confrontations across Mexico on Sunday as CJNG members burned cars and blocked some 250 roads. Officials in Jalisco said 81 convenience stores were attacked and 22 branches of a state-run bank set on fire. So again, the more we get updates, the higher the numbers go for these types of things. Mexico Security Minister Omar Garcia Harfuch said 25 members of the National Guard had died in Jalisco on Sunday in 6 separate attacks, along with 30 cartel members. Sheinbaum said all roadblocks had been cleared by Monday morning and that security forces and state governments were collaborating closely to maintain order. Quote, the most important thing now is to guarantee peace and security for all of Mexico's population, and that's what we're doing, she said. Today is calmer. There we go. And then it says here that the Mexican peso fell 0.5% at the opening of trading on Monday on fears of potentially prolonged violence. So there you go. The old honeypot method was what was used to find him and, I guess, eliminate him. So yeah, I believe that is all the news that we have regarding this for you today, kids and cubs. As I did yesterday, I'll just take another look to see from the site of the governor, just in case there has been another update since the one we saw, because the one that we saw earlier today was from almost first thing this morning. And therefore, it is possible that there was a little more. I also note here in my email that we received an update from the Department of Foreign Affairs um, around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So I will take a look at that as well in order to make sure that there isn't anything I missed, because it could be information that is good for you if you are in Mexico as well, or that you could pass on to people you know here in Mexico, if that is indeed, if you happen to know somebody here who is also affected by the situation. So this one will be easier to bring up first. So I will go to message from the government of Canada here. Let's see here. Was it at 5 o'clock? I think it was. Just gonna make sure here. My email. Maybe I was mistaken. Thought I saw something new. Nope, that's my mistake. Sorry, kids and cubs. That was from Sunday. It was not from today. All right, so let's go back and see if there is anything from the actual governor of the state of Jalisco. And if you will bear with me here, just waiting for the page to load up. It's taking a little bit of time here. So while I'm waiting, I guess I will start the extra and for the show. And when the thing pops up, I will interrupt that and bring it to you. But kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode, a special episode of the Daily Beaver morning show, live from Mexico. We hope that you enjoyed this. Again, won't say that I necessarily enjoyed making this today, but again, wanted to provide you an update. I wanted you to hear it from my voice. Again, not just from the written word, because the word is incomplete. You don't get to the benefit of tone and inflection, facial expressions, so that you know exactly what it is that we are saying. Computer is being very capricious at the present moment. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. And we really appreciate it when you do, particularly this information if you happen to have people who are in Mexico and could benefit from the information. Please do not hesitate to direct them to our content. Because if you would like to help us, kids and cubs, I will put on the screen the QR code for our YouTube page. If you have not yet had the opportunity to click on like, share, and especially subscribe, we would really ask that you do, because when you click on subscribe in particular, that helps us with the algorithm and helps people find us. It's not just about our numbers going up, but it does help to make us more visible. So we thank you for all your support with that. Of course, like and share are also very appreciated. If you smash with those buttons, that gets us a little bit of happy as well. Also, kids and cubs here, if you like what we do and you would like to offer us some financial support for the quality of our show, again, kids and cubs, like we said yesterday, we do not need your money to help us out with our situation here. We have what we need for that, and that's our problem to resolve. But if you do like the show and the content of the show and you would like to encourage us to do more, if you scan that QR code, that will bring you to our coffee page, affectionately called the Emergency Hydration Fund, where you can drop a couple of loonies or toonies in it to buy us a hot chocolate by Mr. Grizzly cup of coffee, say at a Beaver, at a Grizzly, and encourage us to do more of this type of content for you. We are very grateful for all that you do to support us. And if you're doing the Buy Canadian thing, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address. If you send a direct bank transfer there, none of your funds will go to the USCE Tech Pros. 100% of your donation goes to us, which means you get more bang for your Beaver buck. Of course, we have memberships on our YouTube page, and we have the super chats. You can make a donation that way. Any way that you're able to donate is okay by us, and we are very grateful for your contributions. If you're not able to contribute financially, please do not worry, because the gifts of your attention and participation are the ones that matter the most to us. And if you do so, please contribute using our email to let us know what you think about the show, good, bad, or ugly. We take compliments and constructive critique. If it is ugly, please be gentle, especially these days, because we're a little more sensitive than usual. Of course, guest interview suggestions are great. Again, remember our Kids Who Cook hashtags. Sometimes we're out of ideas, and when we see what it is you're cooking, gives us some ideas. And if you have some good news of your own, please send it, because things are a little rough, and opportunities to share in your joy would be very, very welcome around this time. So if you have anything at all, no matter how small, good happening in your life, please let us know about it. Because democracy is something that you do, kids and cubs. Oh, I guess we when we were able to do a show back when we're dealing with Canadian content, there was the by-election Chicoutimi that happened yesterday. So we don't know what the results are, but we'll definitely take a look into that. Remember, the public consultation for Alto Train is ongoing, and we have House of Commons petition. I believe it is. Take the number E7148. So if you go to ourcommons.ca and look for petition E7148, that is the petition that is meant to get the House to take some action to request or to encourage or to obligate the current leader of the opposition to sit for his SCI level security clearance, the type that allows you into a skiff, not the type that everybody keeps on saying that he had already by virtue of the fact that he is either an MP or once was a cabinet minister. And that's not the type of security clearance that he needs. So we need to make that an obligation, given that he has refused to voluntarily go get that himself. Taking a look at that petition here, plenty of signatures, of course. We're now at 37,768 signatures. So please circulate that along if you are able to find it. And because the more people that sign that, the better. We need to apply some pressure in order to get that done. No further updates from the governor. The latest one was the one about potential lifting of the code red. So that's what we have to go on at the moment. If we are looking at the site of government, Jalisco, again, the same thing. The potential lifting of the code red tomorrow is the most recent information that we have, which is indeed good news. All right, kids and cubs, words of wisdom. I'm not sure I have much wisdom at the moment, other than breathe in through the nose, breathe out through the mouth. Breathe in calm, breathe out rage. Or frustration, or whatever it is. Breathe in positivity, breathe out the negativity. Try to keep your heart rate down, try to keep your cortisol levels down, because nothing good can come of that. And yeah, that's the best I got for you today. It could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And again, some cubs, thank you for all the love and the concern. It does mean the world to us. You have been wonderful to us. It's good to know that there are people who care, especially on days like this when we run into people who don't care. Also, we want to give a big shout out to the folks at Megabus because we were supposed to land in Toronto and we had a ticket to take our bus from Toronto to Montreal at some point. But given that we don't know when we are going to land and we couldn't use that ticket, they had a cancellation policy that had a short time frame to do that. And we talked to them on the phone today, and they agreed to cancel our ticket and give us full credit that we can use for when we do get home to buy our next bus ticket. So Megabus was able to do what Virgin and what Flair Airlines were not able to, but actually provide good customer service. I'm sure the good folks at Megabus didn't have anywhere in their training or their policies. Well, what if somebody that has a bus ticket is actually caught in another country because there's been some cartel stuff? And yet they were able to find a way. They were able to talk to a supervisor, the person on the line, and make something happen. So it's kind of interesting that a phone company and an airline company, which have probably way more resources than do Megabus, was able to do what these larger corporations were not. Just an interesting note. So a big plug and a big shout out to Megabus. We are fans, and when people do good things, we believe that they deserve the credit, and we happen to have a platform. So all the love and all the respect. They did make our day a little bit brighter, considering how rough it was. Okay, so it's time to sign off. At the count of 3, kids and cubs, or at the count of tres, may I please ask you, with a little feeling and a lot of love, to say, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock on uno, dos, tres. Entiendo. I hear you. I felt that love right here in the fields. You got me, kids and cubs. And since you did it so wonderfully and so kindly, as your loyal and humble servant, Queen Beaver, here comes the wave. I must oblige. I just have to. Your wish is my command. Here's a little cock-a-doodle-doo for you. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. Before I go, I just wanted to give a little shout out to Kit Playing with 3D. I saw you in the chat there saying, just hurry home. I prefer you analyzing the news, not being part of it. Yeah, I hear you. We curate the news and we analyze. We're not supposed to be part of the news at all. That's not supposed to be our role or our job, but kind of happened that way. Amore besitos, and we'll see you soon. Don't know when, if I'll be able to do a show tomorrow again. We might have to move out here tomorrow. We might, there might be other situations. We might be on the phone. Maybe somebody will find us a flight if the code red is lifted. There might be more planes available. We will be looking for that. So, or we might be getting help from our elected officials from the consular services. So our schedules are completely up in the air. I apologize for not being able to maintain anything regular at the moment, but I'm sure given the circumstances, you can understand. But I will try to be back with you as soon as possible and keep you updated on what's going on with us and what's going on here. Okay. Love to you all. Rest well.